Roll call.
Mr. Clark.
Present.
Dr. Kincaid.
Here.
Mr. Newsom.
Here.
Mr. Riley.
Here.
Mrs. Troop.
Here. Next thing on the agenda, it's 2.1. It's the presentation of the Employee of the Month and Friend of Education Awards. We're going to have to do the ones for March and April this evening. The first one is Certified Employee of the Month for March is Michael Webb, science teacher at West Middle School.
It is my pleasure and honor to present this to Mr. Webb. He's a very dedicated teacher, always finds creative ways to engage his students with their learning. Mr. Webb's students are excited about learning and often talked about how much they stump their parents with information they've learned in science class. Mr. Webb has also taken the initiative to get a weather system set up so that our students can use the data from the system to figure out different weather patterns. His ability as a teacher is enough for him to be acknowledged as Employee of the Month, but he is also recognized for what he does for his colleagues in our building. He has created an easy and effective way for West employees to track student information, remediation, and discipline, a task which in the past has taken hours of time for team teachers. This database has allowed for more efficient tracking of students and has allowed more time for instructional planning and collaboration. Mr. Webb is constantly updating and improving this database on his own time and is always willing to take time out in order to demonstrate all aspects for any teacher that needs extra help. His dedication, creativity, and hard work are the things that we need in our schools, and these are the things that should be recognized. Mr. Webb did represent West as a Teacher of the Year candidate, and we are equally proud to present him as our Certified Employee of the Month. And he's the kind of guy that no matter what, see? Throws a trophy at me, but yes, it's always kids first, Mr. Webb. What can I do for our kids at West Middle School? And I'm very appreciative, of what he does, and congratulate you, Mr. Webb.
Thank you very much.
The next awards, Support Employee of the Month for March is Carrie Payne. She's the secretary at Garfield Elementary.
All right. Carrie is new. She's not new to Garfield. She's been a special ed TA, and she's also been a Title I TA, but she stepped into the role as our site secretary this year, and she was nominated by several employees within our building, and they had some wonderful things to say about her. Carrie has worked at Garfield Elementary for many years. She has served students as special education assistant, Title I assistant, and now serves as our school secretary. It would be hard to find another individual in the district that puts more effort and heart into serving the needs of our students and staff. Carrie begins each day with numerous tasks ahead of her and finishes each day with a smile on her face. She is not only an amazing site secretary, but also a wonderful friend to each and every staff member at Garfield. Even on Carrie's busiest day, she's never too busy to comfort a student in need of a Band-Aid, ice pack, or even a hug. Her immense dedication to her job, students, and staff is why we believe that Carrie deserves to be the March Support Employee of the Month. Our school would not be the same without her, and it definitely would not. We appreciate you.
The next award is Friends of Education for March, and it's the RCB North Bank Reading Mentors at Trout Elementary.
We want to introduce Sandy Cordova and also Brett Austin, and they are here representing quite a group. It's an honor to present the RCB Reading Mentors with the March Ponca City Friend of Education Award. The readers include Brianna Lewis, Denise Lawrence, Sandy Dickerson, Corey Stallhan, Sandy Cordova, Christy Neal, thank you, Pam Baker, Maria Loy, Stacy Sinclair, Braylee Durham, Maria Cornell, Emily Thompson, and Summer Gayton. 3 years ago, the reading mentors agreed to come on a rotating basis to read with our third graders. You know reading becomes more important when you share it. These ladies come 2 by 2 every Wednesday morning to work on reading fluency. Fluency is a foundational piece for learning content subjects as a child progresses through school. So we asked some of our students to comment on their reading mentors. Out of the mouths of babes. Thomas stated, "They helped me make my AR goal." Brunner shared, "They are funny and interesting ladies." And many students added, "We appreciate their help." A special thanks to Sandy Cordova for coordinating this special project. We appreciate their consistent attendance and dedication to this program. Thank you, RCB mentors, for providing academic support and building relationships with our students. You are greatly appreciated. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Don't go far, Carla.
Yeah. Certified Employee of the Month for April is Carol Lines, special education teacher at Trout Elementary.
2 for 1. Oh, the best part about this is we did surprise her. Yes, we had to fib to her several times, but we did surprise you. It's an honor to present Carol Lines with the April Certified Employee of the Month Award. Mrs. Lyons is a resource teacher at Trout Elementary. In addition to her duties in the classroom, she serves as the special ed PLC chairperson for the district. Many times she is the messenger delivering new policies and procedures. And we all know how that goes. The new Ed Plan software was one new procedure this year. Carol displayed diligence, professionalism, and a bit of humor with the new software. We appreciate the way she can look at difficult situations with a twinkle in her eye and a smile on her face. Mrs. Lyons starts her classes at 8 a.m. when the rest of the school is in the Rise and Shine assembly. She does this to meet the needs of our little people that need one-on-one instruction for developmental delays. One teacher shared, "You never hear Carol complaining. She always finds a way to make it work." Carol is a fabulous teacher who builds positive relationships with her students, parents, and coworkers. By building these relationships, she is able to garner productive collaboration that benefits her students. She's open and a wonderful listener. A fellow teacher shared, "I enjoy working with her because she has made me a better teacher. I know she has the same effect on her students." Carol Lyons is undeniably deserving of this award. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate you.
Support Employee of the Month for April is Sharon Chamberlain, pre-kindergarten teacher assistant at Liberty Elementary.
Begrudgingly, she's here. I also had to kind of fib to her when Miss Eric came the other day. I said, "We need you in the gym," because she does breakfast duty every morning, which is a tough job. And our math was a little wrong, so I'm going to kind of correct it here because we don't know how to count. Mrs. Chamberlain has been at Liberty for 21 years and has become an indispensable staff member. From the minute students walk through the door, she is there to greet and help them with breakfast. She is much more than a teacher's assistant in the pre-K classroom. She reads to the students, pulls them in small groups, and most importantly, loves and cares about each one. We are so happy that she has chosen Liberty to be her home.
Friend of Education for April is Sarah Lynn, mentor at Wildcat Academy.
Sarah surprised us. She showed up earlier than we were hoping the other day, and friends and family kind of spoiled the surprise. The staff and students of the Wildcat Academy would like to nominate Sarah Lynn for the Friends of Education Award. We feel that Sarah is very deserving of this honor. Sarah works with our students and preparing them for enter the workforce. Sarah gave the students pointers on what to wear and what to say at a job interview. Sarah also showed students how to fill out job application. Sarah helps every student write a resume and she has helped some of them find jobs. Sarah has also set up mentor lunches for our senior students with members of the community. These kids have formed close bonds with members that Sarah has matched them with. Sarah arranged a trip for juniors and seniors attending the Walkout Academy to visit campus at NOC. The students took a guided tour and had lunch with Student Union. Sarah wants each student to feel like college is a possibility. This belief in the students and their potential is refreshing. The newest project Sarah has created for our students is working in the Met Lab with Lawrence Belil. The students are learning how to run a 3D laser machine. Sarah and Lawrence are teaching students valuable job skills along with giving a chance to actually make money for the school. Sarah Lynn has given time and effort to make sure the students at the Walkout Academy are given the opportunity to be successful. Sarah continues to look for ways to help the students at the Walkout Academy. The students appreciate all her efforts on their behalf. Her visits to the Walkout Academy are eagerly anticipated. Some of the students call her on their own to come visit. Sarah is always very accommodating. Her sweet spirit and giving nature has captured the hearts of us at the Walkout Academy. She's also been very helpful to the teachers when it's come to job questions or resumes or, for other people. So we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Okay. If y'all all step out there, they want to take your pictures. Because, okay. All right. Next thing on the agenda is public comments. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment?
Gee, I don't think we had anybody sign
Okay,
up.
all right. The next thing is 4.1, the funding update by Dr. Pennington.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank those board members who attended our K County budget discussion last Monday, and also to those in the public who took some time to attend that meeting. I thought that the information provided was good and accurate, but as I said in the meeting, it changes all the time, and so I think the just kind of what I wanted to discuss with the board tonight is that last week we have the distribution of the rainy day money that that the State Department was given through the request for rainy day funds that the governor accepted and the legislature approved. And as a result of that, we've had 405,000 of the 400, was it 440, Brenda, that we had cut?
We had 440 cut.
That we had $440,000 that we had cut in the March revenue failure. Okay, so as a result of that, I know one of the things that we've talked about a lot, we've had a lot of questions about, has to do with, are we going to let school out early? And the answer to that is no, I will not be making that recommendation to the board. The financial condition of the district doesn't justify that, especially with the dollars that we've had reinstated by the state government. That does not mean that we're still not, as we look at next year and we decide how we're going to take care of the potential budget cuts we have next year. That doesn't mean that we might not be looking at a change in our calendar for next school year. But we're not looking at doing that for this year. And again, I think there are two reasons for that. First reason is that we when you look at, again, receiving that $400,000, I don't see any financial reason to do it. But the second reason is that we entered into a contract with people at the beginning of the school year, and we told them that we would provide them with so many days of employment at a specific rate of pay. And to change that on them so close into the school year, I think is fundamentally unfair. If we do make a change for next year, we'll make that soon enough so that employees know exactly what their contract status is for the next year, what we intend to pay them, and how many days of work they'll have. And then they'll have the choice that all employees have when those kind of changes are made of either accepting those changes and continuing to work for us or going to work for somebody else. So, and I think that's the fairest way to do anything like this. So, the other thing that I think I would like to try to clarify, when we talked last Monday in the presentation about potential budget cuts that not only were superintendents in K County discussing, but also superintendents across the state, we had a laundry list of items. And I don't know if there's confusion from people who attended the meeting, or confusion from people who read it in the newspaper, or just confusion from people who heard things about the meeting. I think we were consistently in what we said is that whatever cuts are made are going to be heavily dependent upon how much of a budget cut we receive. And we identified potential budget cuts, but we did not say that we would definitely do anything. The area that has created the most controversy, which I knew it would, was anytime you talk about athletics or fine arts. I want to make it very clear that we have no intention at this time of reducing any athletic programs that we offer our students or any fine art programs that we offer our students. The revenue failure and the amount of revenue we've lost does not justify that today, okay? But even though we're finally starting to get some information out of the legislature, we still don't have firm numbers. So I'm not going to sit here tonight and say that under no circumstances will I be recommending any kind of cuts like that to the board. But I would think those chances are very, very slim. But the point I did make, and I'll make again tonight, have never been real concerned about the 16-17 school year. I think our fund balance is solid. I think we've taken steps to kind of put some controls on spending for this year that I think when we get into the fiscal year is going to give us some more cushion than we would have had otherwise. And I think that by doing that and by taking some steps to make our class sizes at the high school more in line, or at the secondary schools, more in line with the class sizes, or I guess maybe a better way to phrase it would be student-teacher ratios at the secondary level, more in line with what student-teacher ratios are at the elementary level. I think that we'll be in good shape for the 17-18 school year. The school year that has always concerned me is the 18-19 school year, because I don't think any of us know where the state economy is going to be in 3 years. If you go back and you look at what happened, and I think this is the only model we can go by, when you look at what happened in the late 80s with the oil bust of the 80s, and you look at how long it took, not just that it took the price of oil to get back to where it was and then to exceed that, it was a long time period. You know, it was a good 7 or 8 years before we got back from, I think it was a high of $45 a barrel in the mid-'80s to get back to $45 a barrel again. And so, you know, from a percentage standpoint, this fall in the price of oil has been even higher from over $100 a barrel to down to $30 a barrel. And I just don't think that that's all going to bounce back in a couple of years. And so then, if that's the case, then it boils down to what the legislature is going to do in order to increase revenue for the state of Oklahoma, which could be run the gamut from some type of revenue increase to exemption of tax credits or allowing tax credits to expire. But as I told somebody today, the problem we're dealing with is not a problem created by the Ponca City Public Schools. This is not a situation where we've had a severe drop of enrollment, and because we've had a drop of enrollment, we have a revenue problem. Or we had a drop of enrollment and we didn't reduce staff, and so we're overstaffed for that reason. Our financial problems that we're dealing with are all problems created by the elected officials in this state. And, you can decide how far back you want to go to place that blame, but the reality is that we didn't plan ahead very well at the state level, and we made decisions, economic policy decisions, based upon a price of oil that, if it would have stayed there, would have been really good. But I think especially in a community like ours, where the oil industry has been always such a central part of our economy, we know that prices go up and prices come down. And for whatever reason, we did not anticipate that at the state level. Or we chose not to anticipate it. I'm not sure which it is. So we will continue to look at every available thing we can to be as conservative as we can with our revenue projections and with our staffing and our spending decisions, so that we don't have to make the kind of cuts that eliminate the programs that, I think, as I said that night, are the things that most of us remember about going to school. When people talk about their time as a high school student, and I don't care where you are, as much as we all know that the most important things we do are teach English, math, history, and science, that's not what people remember. What they remember is their experience as a member of the band, and going to band contests and going on band trips and marching contests and those kinds of things. What they remember is their time on the football team or the basketball team or the wrestling team or the baseball team. Those stories are better if you win, but even if you don't win, you still talk about those times. Those are the things that bind us together as a community. And they're things that are critically important, and they are an important part of education. You learn very important lessons in those extra and co-curricular programs. That's where you learn to work on teams. That's where you learn to interact with people from different backgrounds and different cultures and different traditions. So those things are critically important to what we do. But as important as they are, the reason we exist as a school system is to teach math, English, science, social studies, history. And if we get to that point where we have to make those kind of decisions, we will make those decisions that preserve and protect academic programs, because that's what we're here to do. So the other question some of you may have read in the paper last week, where the Speaker of the House has said that the House will not accept a budget cut for education above 5%. What we don't know, and because it's like anything else with the budget, it changes depending on who you talk to. is that a 5% cut from where we were July 1st of 2015 with the initial state aid appropriation for last year? Or is he talking 5% in addition to the January cut? Or 5% in addition to the January and March cut before the rainy day money was applied? And that all makes a big difference, because if it's a 5% cut on top of where we were as of before the rainy day money, then you're looking at really a 9% cut overall. And that additional 4% can be pretty hard to swallow. A 9% cut, if that's what it ends up being, is taking the revenue failure in January, revenue failure in March, and adding 5% to that. That's going to put us up pretty close to the $100 per weighted ADM that I talked about in the meeting, which would put our overall cut, if it was only state aid, in the neighborhood of a $900,000. Okay, which again is manageable if we end up there. Now, if it's $200 and then we're talking about a $1.6 million cut, and so we have to cut an additional, what would that be, Brenda, another $1 million over what we've cut so far? Okay. So it's up in the air. Again, I think as we move through April, things will get clearer. And I think by the time we come to the May board meeting, we ought to have we won't have a budget yet, but I think we'll have a pretty good idea of at least what the different plans are in both houses of the legislature, and whether or not any of the revenue-enhancing legislation is still alive. So, anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Next on the agenda is the...
If OU were still playing, I'd been a lot quicker on that.
Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. I need a motion to approve.
Move approval. Second. Whoever.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent calendar. Are there any other questions? Okay. let's
Dr.
vote.
Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
The next thing is consideration of to vote to approve or not approve the following items. This is the finance reports, the financial reports. Do I have a motion to approve these?
I have a motion to approve on 6.1. It was a really smooth meeting. I don't know what happened, but but I will approve this
Oh.
one.
Yeah, well, I was there, so I'm sure that's why.
Great, Judy.
Okay.
Just harassing you.
Call for the vote.
Do I need a second?
Need
Oh,
to-
did we have a second?
Don made it first.
Don made the
Second.
motion, okay.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Okay, next is 6.2, consideration of and vote to approve or not approve the following contracts. A is the contract with High Techtronics Communication Systems. This is for the security cameras. Agreement, and B is agreement with IS Defender, Content Keeper for Web Filter. That's for the protection of our internet. And C, agreement with Artist Travel Consultants for travel package to New York City for Pohai Corral trip. Do I have a motion to approve these three contracts?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are these new cameras that we're getting better at the high school outside?
Yeah, they're better than what they were, but they're replacing, ones that had quit.
Not more, just
There
improvement?
are a couple more as well in critical areas.
Any more questions?
Have they changed a lot from the older ones in quality and stuff? Can you tell?
Quality is better. We haven't enhanced them so much that it gets kind of out of range, but the quality is a whole lot better than what.
I move that we approve those three items, 6.2.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. And are there any further questions? Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Okay, next, 6.3, consideration of and vote to approve or not approve quotes and guaranteed maximum price for the Lincoln Elementary remodel and addition project. Somebody go-
Motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept 6.3. Are there any questions? Okay, call for the vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
6.4, consideration of and vote to approve or not approve the guaranteed maximum price for the East Middle School window replacement project. The guaranteed maximum price for this project was $734,000 and requires approval. Do I have a motion to approve this?
Yes.
A second.
Are there any questions?
Isn't this about a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 savings from what you originally expected?
No, the Lincoln one was actually a little bit less that you just approved. The guaranteed maximum price was a little higher, but those quotes that came in they ended up a little lower. So it changed on you. East is under budget. You knew really basically what this was last month. This just is the process of approving that guaranteed maximum price. But it's still under the budget.
How much was it under?
I can't even remember now, about 20,000, something like that.
Maybe it was 70, the two combined.
Yes.
Maybe that's where I
But we
got that.
ended up going with the other one, actually. For the East Middle School, the HVAC, that's the one that we've put off.
Still going to make it in the middle of the summer? Get them done?
Oh, yeah.
Windows?
Well, it won't be in the middle of summer. It'll be
Before
pushed-
school starts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still summer in August, isn't it?
Any more questions? Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye. Okay, 6.5 is consideration of and vote to approve or not approve a proposed executive session. Do we need to do that?
Yes.
Okay. For the following purposes: to discuss the possible termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel on the attached detailed personnel report, to discuss the employment of principals, to discuss confidential conversations with the board's attorney concerning pending claims and litigation, to discuss the purchase or appraisal of real property, and to discuss negotiations. Do I have a move to go into executive session?
Yeah, 6.5.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye, I'm sorry.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Okay, we are in executive session. 6.7, recital by the board president that minutes of executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. 6.8, vote to approve or not approve renewal of the following administrative contracts for the 2016-2017 school year.
Move to approve 6.8.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay. we'll
Mr.
call for the
Newsom?
vote.
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
6.9, vote to approve or not approve recommendations for termination, reassignment, resignations, and employment of personnel. We don't have any of those, do we?
Move to approval.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions?
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Okay, number 7, do we have any new business?
No, we do not.
Okay, number 8, I need a motion required for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.